Did you know that parents rank financial literacy as the #1 most difficult life skill to teach? Meet Greenlight, the debit card and money app for families. With Greenlight, you can send money to kids quickly, set up chores, automate allowance, and keep an eye on your kids' spending with real-time notifications. Kids learn to earn, save, and spend wisely. And parents can rest easy knowing their kids are learning about money with guardrails in place. Try Greenlight risk-free today at greenlight.com/getstarted. That's GREENLIGHT.com/getstarted.
Okay, but the implication is that T'Challa was just like, hey, man, you shouldn't kill half the universe. And Thanos was like, oh, yeah, no, I hadn't thought about it that way.
It's just a what if, man.
Right, but that's the what if.
Right.
It should have been called what if someone had a 4-sentence long conversation with Thanos.
Exactly. Thank you, Cecil.
Surprise! Happy birthday, or whatever.
Holy shit.
It's me.
What
Arkansas gubernatorial candidate and former press secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders.
That's
What
right,
the hell
Sarah
are you
Huckabee
doing
Sanders.
here?
It's your birthday, right? It's his birthday. Is it not?
No, Sarah, for the last time, this is not for a birthday.
I mean, it's somebody's birthday.
Eli, why did you bring her here? She stinks, man.
It's for this week's essay. Heath is doing the Trump book Fire and Fury, so who better to chime in than someone who was there, right? I mean, even if she's not the greatest person.
Okay, first of all, I didn't mean figuratively. I literally mean she smells bad. That's what I meant.
Yeah, she does. She smells like a cat threw up on an old dentist chair. She smells exactly like that.
Yeah, that's accurate and very specific. That's on me. That's on me. Now that I'm down in the AK, I can't find a power washer to really, get in there. You know what I'm saying? So that's why. That's the smell.
I deeply do not know what you're saying. I don't know. No. And 2, this week's essay, Eli, is about the sound and the fury, not fire and fury.
The William Faulkner novel?
Yeah, dude.
Not the same.
Oh. Well, shit. Sorry, Sarah. I guess we don't need you for the episode after all.
Okay, but I still get paid though, right?
Yeah, I guess so. Go ahead.
Well, what did you offer her?
I told her we'd listen to the story of the time her brother set a dog on fire.
Oh, seriously? Come on.
Yeah, that tracks.
Okay, so there I am having the time of my life at Bible camp, and I was at. So my brother. Don't interrupt, or I'll start over. So my brother set this dog on fire.
Hello and welcome to Citation Needed, the podcast where we choose a subject, read an article about it on Wikipedia, and pretend we're experts, because this is the internet, and that's how it works now. I'm Noah, and I'll be... You know what? I'll be hosting, because there's something to be said for just saying what you fucking mean. But if ever there was a topic I couldn't make interesting alone...
I get it. Hosting, right.
We nailed it here. So I've got company. First up, 2 men who should have known better, Heath and Cecil.
Yeah, all right. That's my epitaph right there. Should have known better.
Noah, there's known knowns, unknown knowns, and unknown unknowns. That guy's dead now. Thank goodness.
We're going to have, we're going to have all of those. And also joining us tonight are 2 men whose audio tracks suffer from excess sound and excess fury, respectively, Eli and Tom.
Noah, we have 5 podcasts. If I don't eat on mic, I will literally starve.
You know, no, I'm actually a little pissed you even bring that up, honestly.
That's going to be on Eli's epitaph.
Yeah. All right, so before we get going tonight, I want to remind everybody that Eli gave up his favorite field to get this show started. So if you'd like to help make up for that, be sure to stick around to the end of the show and learn how you can give us money. And with that out of the way, tell us, Heath, what person, place, thing, concept, phenomenon, or event will we be talking about today?
The sound and the fury.
Okay, so what is The Sound and the Fury?
The Sound and the Fury is a 1929 novel by William Faulkner that's on a whole bunch of lists as one of the greatest English language novels of the 20th century. It is not. It's extremely unpleasant to read. It's not good.
So you've heard.
The conceit is that I have more knowledge that I'm going to let on about this. It's not good. It's not good, and it's for a variety of different reasons.
Did you say you read as much of this as he read of Proust, or less? Which would you say?
So much more. So much more. Eli, name a thing about Proust. We'll go back and forth.
Gay mandolins.
Yeah, that's the one. I think I could do 2. Anyway, this is bad. It's a bad book. Variety of reasons that it's bad, most of which are the criteria by which you might judge a book, like narrative structure and compelling characters and the plot of the story in the book. It's bad at those things. It's a bad book. I don't like this book. I don't like it at all. It's bad. It's a bad book of writing. But a bunch of literary hipsters, they all got together on calling it amazing. And now it's one of those books you're, supposed to read. It's the Citizen Kane of books, and I fucking hate it. So we're going to talk about it. I tried to actually read it once a while back. It's very unpleasant. It's like eating sand through your eyes. I gave up like almost immediately. But I did more recently read about it on Wikipedia and SparkNotes.
Oh, well, there you go.
I skimmed through some passages. I actually listened to some. I listened to the audiobook. Now I'm an expert. We're going to talk about it.
Because this is talking about art at any time in history, and that's how it works now.
Yeah, right. No. Well done.
So, before we get started with the story, let's get a little background from you guys. Did any of you actually read this or listen to it? And did anybody like it?
So Tom and I, we read this right out of college. Like, we were both looking for something to do. We thought, hey, we'd read books together. And we decided to just randomly select from a list of greatest books of all time, one title. This was
selected?
the one, and we quit directly after this book, and we started podcasting. Yeah,
it ruined books for you.
I haven't read a
100%.
book since.
That's how good this book is.
To be fair, Cecil, if we'd kept up with the reading books off a list idea instead of like going into podcasting, I never would have married a pole dancer in Vacation in Australia. So I love this book. Like 10.
Well, there you go.
10 out of 10.
All right, so I got some next level shit for you. I've never read the book, and I've never read about the book, but because I've been through this script, I've read about reading about it.
And that's how it works now. You are an expert. Huh? So here's how the book works, which is not a good start, by the way. I can't just tell the story.
No,
because it's a bad book. I have to tell you how the fucking book works.
It
You have
doesn't.
to diagram it like it does not work. That is correct. But to try to understand it, you have to diagram it like a ridiculous run-on sentence with badly nested clauses all over the place, like reading Eli. Those are kind of like the sentences you might find in this book. It's just like that.
Keith, if reading was supposed to be for the masses, everyone would have their own printing press, okay?
Hey, Eli, that's literally the internet. You and I both have blogs. That's the internet.
Do that for a
One
living.
of us quit. One of us quit that.
All right, so
I love your
here's how the
blog.
book works. It's not just like left to right, top to bottom. Here's how it works. It's the story of the Compson family. These are white people living in Jefferson, Mississippi, and they've been aristocracy since before the Civil War. But the current generation of parents are terrible people who can't even succeed with that giant head start they had, so their wealth and status is crumbling away by the early 1900s when the story actually happens. And Faulkner gives us the narrative in 4 chapters with 4 different voices and out of chronological order. It's like a deconstructed word salad, and most of the vegetables are bigots, so it's like less pleasant than the average deconstructed word salad.
Where's that episode of Veggie Tales?
Okay,
Right?
that is every episode of Veggie Tale. I think the carrot was the
Okay,
first
actually,
one in the
yeah.
Capitol on the 6th.
It's true. It's true.
Well, the first one that didn't get shot. But yeah.
It's Carrot's dressed like a shaman. It's super weird. It's very weird.
Gets shot in the head. Puskanetska sprays out all over the...
We
Fucking
really need
yokels.
an artistic listener to really to dig into that one.
God.
It's a
Angelo,
Angelo, go.
draw the carrot
That's
getting
awesome.
shot at the Capitol. Do it.
Oh, we're going to get such
After
good
the
ones
carrot
out of
gets
that.
arrested, he'll
Angelo's
only
awesome.
hang out with organic carrots and organic other
Yeah.
prisoners.
Okay, so back to this book. Given how far I got reading this myself, I'm going to start with the title. That's my wheelhouse of expertise, I'd say. And the title is directly related to the voice of chapter 1, which is Benji, the youngest son of the Compson family. Benji is described as intellectually disabled, but with the language of a writer in the 1920s. So that meant the use of offensive terms like idiot for this person. And this is part of some really terrible wordplay that Faulkner thought was genius. The Sound and the Fury is a reference to a passage from Macbeth in Act 5, Scene 5,
right after Macbeth finds out his wife killed herself.
Spoilers.
Sorry, everybody.
Is
who's
that a
got
real
spoiled on
forest?
Apologies.
Spoilers.
But Act 5, Scene 5, here's the soliloquy. Actually, Eli, you got this? You're a Shakespeare guy. You ever play Macbeth? I couldn't possibly. I haven't been practicing. Do you have this just, top of your head?
Tomorrow and tomorrow. Creeps in this petty place. Petty fuck. God damn it. Don't you dare keep that.
Oh, I'm keeping it. I'm keeping it.
So if you keep that mistake, I will cut my own throat. I will
Keep every second that is
Holy
happening.
fucking shit, am I
I'm gonna
keeping
put
it?
you in the fucking.
I am keeping it.
You absolutely are
You will
keeping
get
this.
a tape, and they will put a warning in front of this.
Not a
podcast on
chance.
Netflix.
We're sending this to NYU.
There's
You're
literally
professor.
zero fucking chance that's getting cut. Just continue where you left off, Eli. Just continue where
I'm
you
just
left
going to keep
off.
talking a little bit to make sure you
And
can't
Eli, when you
possibly
do it, I
cut
want you to stare off into the middle distance like you have it memorized. Then immediately after the tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow, go right back to the page.
Look back to my
Please.
brain.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you, Tom.
Oh, my body cam went out. What happened here?
Okay, Eli, clean cut, Eli, go.
Clean cut,
I'm
yeah.
kidding. I'm not clean cut. I'm kidding.
To the last syllable of recorded time, and all our yesterdays have lighted fools the way to dusty death. Out, brief candle. Life's but a walking shadow. A poor player that struts and frets his hour upon the stage, and then is heard no more. It is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing.
There it is. Title drop. So Faulkner starts the story as literally, in his words, a tale told by an idiot. Because he's an asshole. Even if you give him a pass on the terminology of his time, he's still an asshole. Because the entire novel is going to be centered around the idea from that soliloquy that life is meaningless because you can never achieve the greatness of the past. So you might as well just die. Go ahead and enjoy my book that's coming right up.
That life is meaningless because you can never achieve the greatness of the past is also every single boomer meme.
That's fair. Heath, this may shock you to your very core, but I think you might have missed the finer points of both Shakespeare's soliloquy and Mr. Faulkner's reference to it. Or maybe it's just called the R-slur book, and Shakespeare's a 13-year-old journaling in the back of math class. We'll let the audience decide.
Okay. What are the finer points that I missed from that soliloquy? What was
waiting
that
for
about?
Yeah, that's
besides
some,
what I
that's some
said?
comedy gold. Why don't you dig in on that?
How do you guys like Citation Needed this week? It was weird when Eli talked about Macbeth's speech from Act 5, Scene 5 for 16 minutes. Especially because
Okay,
he
so you
was
don't know
fart
any.
noising in
You
the
don't know any
background.
finer points. That's fine.
I know.
So
Gay Manlin. Gay Manlin.
the narrative from Benji starts on the day before Easter, April 7th, 1928. It's Benji's 33rd birthday, and a black teenager named Luster is looking after Benji. Luster is the grandson of the Compson's cook, Dilsey. Benji and Dilsey are the only two characters in the book, pretty much, who are not terrible people. So Faulkner mostly focused on all the other characters.
Sure did.
So Luster and Benji, they're walking around the property, and random stuff makes Benji remember these mundane little stories from the past. Now, okay, according to the nerds who like this book, this is genius because Faulkner is using a mental disability as a narrative device, and that's a good thing. And these little stories are also establishing the pattern of moral decay in the Compson family, which is supposed to mirror the decay of other stuff, society, metaphor. I don't get it. Whatever. Is this deep? Am I just dumb at books? I don't like this.
Nah, man, you're just a literary outsider.
Oof.
Drain the swamp.
I hate that might actually be a really interesting literary device if it were written in a way that was not intentionally, joyfully incomprehensible. And if anyone tries to tell me that the incomprehensibility is the point of chat, they should have to tell that to my fucking face, is what they should have to do.
No, I'm with you. Like, periods are overrated. You know,
Yeah.
7 or 8 of them per chapter.
Yeah. Saved up. It's ecological. So just a reminder, this is a book of fiction, a novel, if you will. You can write whatever you want. You're allowed to write anything you want. But this boring memory thing keeps going for a while.
Yes, it does.
And then we're back in the present with Luster and Benji, and they walk along a stream that runs through the property. And this is where Benji tells a story revealing that all his brothers very clearly have a terrifying sexual desire for their sister Caddy, starting as little kids playing in the muddy creek on the property. And this time would have been great for the story to end abruptly like those other little mundane stories did, but it does not. This goes on for a while.
Are you quite sure you're not just reciting from your browser history at this point, Heath?
Oh, good point.
Seems
That's a good point.
I'm not
indistinguishable.
Step does a lot of work in that bit. In that show.
The sound in the Fury tab's a fun one. So after playing in the creek, the kids go back to the house where a bunch of people are crying because they're all in a really bad book. That includes Benji's brother, Jason. So Caddy makes fun of Jason for crying. And Jason's crying because Grandma DeMoody is sick and about to die, which means Jason can't sleep in Grandma's bed anymore.
Yeah, the crying should take place after the grandson and the grandmother sleep together, not before.
Yes, right. It doesn't even make sense where he puts the crying. Thank you, Cecil. It's dumb. Also, quick note on this narrative made of creepy stories. It's even worse than it sounds. And that's because Benji doesn't experience time along the normal time dimension. So everything is in the present tense and hard to understand. Now, according to those literary hipsters, this was Faulkner doing a brilliant philosophical exploration of how time is actually a flat circle or some other deep bullshit about time. Now, this could have been an interesting look at the world through the eyes of people with different mental states, or an exploration of conflicting narration as a literary device. But it's not good. It's that, but bad. That stuff could be good, but this is bad doing that. It's bad. But I'm apparently wrong about that too, according to those hipsters.
No.
Again, according to them, Benji's lack of commentary gives us a beautifully objective picture of the Compson family backstory, and that's fucking genius.
Yeah, fucking hipsters at the Harvard Literary Review with their pour-over coffee and their decades of study of the written word.
Yeah, I will say, this is a book for the average reader, the same way like 2 high school bio classes qualifies you to peruse the May edition of the Journal of Molecular Biology. Like, and anecdotally, you also need better qualifications than a bachelor's in lit and the name Tom, because I also couldn't make heads or tails out of the goddamn thing. Hands up, not qualified.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Back to the story, I guess. We get a few more memory vignettes that won't really make sense yet, so that's fun. Pin in everything that's happening. And then we go back to the day of Grandma's funeral, and Caddy decides that all the adults were lying about having the wake for Grandma. I don't know why she decided that, but she decided that. So she climbs a tree to spy on them in the parlor, and all her brothers stand under that tree and stare at her underwear, which are still dirty from playing in the muddy creek. Apparently, this was amazing symbolism by Faulkner. By focusing heavily on this little girl's muddy underwear, he was building a great symbol that was also foreshadowing the sexual promiscuity of Caddy and eventually Caddy's future daughter named Miss Quentin. And this promiscuity curses the entire family. And this is how to set it up, I guess.
But if muddy underwear are sexy, Eli is Brad Pitt.
Hey, Cecil. Brad Pitt's 57, dude. I know it's hard to update your exemplars, but like every other decade, you've got to do it, bro.
57 is perfectly sexy. It's a perfectly sexy age. What is wrong with you?
If I could look like 57 Brad Pitt at any age in my life, I'd take it.
I know, right? Yeah.
All right. From there, we get some stories from Benji about his interactions with women. It starts with Caddy, who begins wearing perfume as she gets older, and that's extremely upsetting to Benji. The perfume is another amazing symbol of women destroying their families by having sexuality. Now, in fairness, it seems like Faulkner might be aware of that being bad and sexist, but he's not aware in a way that makes the book enjoyable. So I don't know how much credit or fairness we should give. This is also where we hear about Benji trying to talk with some girls who walk by the house, but they all scream at him. And then one of their dads attacks Benji. And later that night, Mr. Compson, Benji's dad, and Jason, his brother, decide they might need to castrate Benji. Spoiler, That fucking happens in the
Jesus.
book.
Admittedly, writing a stream of consciousness first-person castration is something no one ever tried before or since, so it's unique, I guess. I don't...
Well, but okay, so Mike Pence's book doesn't come out until next year. So for now,
For now, it's unique.
We'll see how it goes.
as of this
goes, yeah.
recording.
So now we finally wrap up chapter 1 back in the present. On the way back to the house, Luster and Benji pass by Caddy's daughter, Miss Quentin, hanging out on the swing set with some random guy wearing a red bow tie. The name of that character is Man with Red Bow Tie. And I'm sure that tie, it's a beautiful symbol for time and blood and the fucking human condition. So Miss Quentin and random bow tie guy get mad at Benji for violating their swing set privacy. And then they all end up back in the house to have birthday cake for Benji. It's his 33rd, you remember?
People resolved fights weird back then. Can I just say that's a weird?
They did. They did. And don't yell at the brother who has a disability. It's fine. It's not fine. It's not. It's terrible. It's a bad book. And so they go back to have birthday cake. That's when Benji burns his hand on a candle and gets yelled at by his mom for making too much noise. That was fun. And it closes with Miss Quentin sneaking out the window and running away, presumably to elope with her symbolic nameless boyfriend with a tie.
Okay, see, Heath, I don't want to ruin the angle on your essay, but I'm pretty sure the character has a name. The narrator just doesn't know it, but it's not like the character doesn't.
Eli,
The character's never named. There's other chapters with other people's point of view.
Eli,
and
not
it's
to
never
wreck
named.
your angle, but the character isn't real outside the pages of the book. If the character isn't named,
yes.
the character doesn't have a name. Exactly the same way Dumbledore isn't gay. Like, if you
Right,
didn't write
yeah.
it down, it didn't happen. The characters aren't like off the page doing stuff and having like rich, full lives that just didn't get jotted by someone.
Okay, well, you obviously haven't drifted on TikTok then, Tom. Had a lot of gay sex with Dumbledore, for your information.
All right. All right. Well, that brings us to chapter 2. This part is told by Benji's brother Quentin in June of 1910. Quentin wakes up in his dorm room at Harvard, where he definitely deserves to be a student on the merits alone. Absolutely. The narrator has a linear time dimension now, so that's a little easier to read. But that just makes it also easier to hear about all the obnoxious writery stuff that Quentin is saying, or really Faulkner is saying. You can hear Faulkner trying so hard to be smart and edgy. I fucking hate it. I hate everything that sounds like that, including this. For example, the very first thing that Quentin does is look at his pocket watch, and he contemplates the inevitability of his awareness of time. He actually says to himself, quote, I believe it was St. Francis who referred to death as his little sister. So, symbol, literature, something. I don't know. I hate it.
The guy looks over, Will Hunting standing outside the room with his sister's number pressed against the glass. Right there.
Sorry. So at this point, Heath, your problem is that the novel is trying too hard? You wish it would...
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, we could fault Faulkner for a lot of stuff, I guess, but shitting on his understanding of literary symbolism seems a bit rich.
Yeah, I think he understands it. He's just bad at it. He gets
Oh,
what's
okay,
happening.
all
He's
right. He
just
just
bad.
doesn't know
It's
how to
bad.
do it. Yeah.
It's low quality everything. So Quentin is staring out his window, watching everyone head to class at Harvard. And then he says to himself, just, up for nothing, I'm a virgin. But you know who fucks? My sister, Caddy. She got married 2 months ago.
Jesus.
Probably just railing that guy right now. Just railing him. They had a nice wedding announcement. that actually goes through his head. We listen to that. We read him saying that to himself. And then he says to himself, apropos of thinking about my sister's vagina just now. Remember when Caddy got pregnant with that guy who isn't her husband? And I told my dad that I committed incest with her so they could cover it up. Good times. And apropos of making up a story about fucking my sister, remember when my dad told me that all my tragic emotions are meaningless and that nobody's coming to help me? You know what? I'm done asking myself questions. End of scene. That's the whole scene.
Okay, I gotta admit, I'm warming up to Heath sarcastically summarize this great literature like he's talking to a stepdad he doesn't want to hang out with on the ride back from a police station. It's coming on me.
That actually, what you just said should have been a scene in the book. It would have been excellent. It would have fit. So Quentin leaves campus and starts walking around the Charles River and thinking about the sexuality of his sister some more. He remembers trying to talk her out of getting married on her wedding day, which did not work. But then after she got pregnant, he does convince her to run away with him. But their dad shuts it all down, and Quentin goes back to Harvard. So that's where he is. This is when Quentin pops back out of his doodly-doo, and he slightly kidnaps a small girl at a bakery in Cambridge, Massachusetts. Now, the book says this was all a misunderstanding, but I don't believe the book here. I don't think that's what happened.
Okay, who do you believe?
I believe in my gut. In my gut, it says this was not a misunderstanding. This is a creepy character. Either way, the girl's family sees this random college guy walking around with their little girl, and they start beating the shit out of Quentin. Then the cops show up and take Quentin down to the station, but he pays a fine and he gets released.
Okay, yeah, well, you don't want to ruin his whole life over one small indiscretion, Heath. I mean, that Stanford swim team isn't going to captain itself. So,
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah, so
Get back to the incest. Get back to the
ride.
fun incest.
Yikes.
right. So Quentin gets a ride back to campus with his friends, and one of the guys, Gerald, talks about his sexual history during the ride. Gerald's talking about who he's been fucking. So naturally, Quentin asks, "Do you have a sister?" When Gerald says no, Quentin punches him in the face for no reason. So Gerald then proceeds to beat the shit out of Quentin, his second really large beating of the day. So I kind of...
and the driver of the
Enjoy that,
car
I
had to
guess.
then throw his arm around the passenger headrest and yell like, "Hey, if you don't cut it out, I'm turning this car around."
We will go back to prison.
Yeah. Okay. Well, now I'm thinking back. Maybe I didn't enjoy Quentin getting beaten up. So, because here's what happens. So, Quentin's back at his dorm room and he's having another bleak internal monologue about his sister and her sex life and the tristesse of the time dimension or whatever deep bullshit. We're supposed to understand that Quentin is grappling with the clash of culture between the Old South and the modern world. It sounds so hard for the Old South. And I guess we're supposed to have sympathy? We do not. I do not. I don't know if you have sympathy out there listening. I don't have any sympathy. And then this part, I guess I do. Quentin kills himself in the Charles River. End of chapter. It's a real page turner.
Okay, so Heath, I know you're trying super hard not to, but you're making this book sound fucking awesome. So while you rethink your strategy, we're going to pause for a little apropos of nothing.
Hi, I'm Tom Curry.
And I'm No Illusions. Man, this episode sure is great.
I wish it could go on forever.
Well, now it can with the Heath Enright Shits on a Book Club.
Here, Heath, take on the classics, like Moby Dick.
Boo! Whales, this book's boring. Get a machine gun.
Or modern hits like Where the Crawdads Sing.
Probably sing somewhere boring and stupid. That's where they sing. Stupid, it's a bad book.
But that's not all. Our gold level members are invited to exclusive talkbacks with the author.
When I first set out to write this book,
Fuck you!
The Heath Enright Shits on a Book Club. Now that you think about it, that actually seems pretty fun.
It does.
yeah, I know.
Those bones aren't so lovely. Not even lovely. Bad bones. Those are bad bones. Stupid.
And we're back. When we last left off, Heath was harumphantly turning in a homework assignment he gave to himself. So he, what is
True, it's
Kafka's
exactly
metamorphosis an allegory of even?
See, that's a good book. So, chapter 3 is where we are now. Chapter 3 happens on Good Friday of 1928, the day before Benji's narration in chapter 1. And the voice for chapter 3 is Jason Compson IV, the brother of Benji and Quentin. And Jason is arguing with his mom about who's the least compelling character. His very first line is, "Once a bitch, always a bitch." That's what I say. And this is where we learn Caddy's backstory in more detail. She got married to a guy named Herbert Head. Why can't they write names in these books? Come on. Herbert Head. All right, whatever. Herbert Head. But then she got pregnant after getting married to Herbert. She got pregnant.
Should have
from
stuck with just the head.
She got pregnant. That's excellent. She got pregnant from an affair, not with Herbert, and they got divorced. So she got kicked out of the house, but the family agrees to take in Caddy's daughter, Miss Quentin. We also learned that Herbert Head owns a bank and offered Jason, the fourth, a job, but then rescinded the offer after that divorce. So now Jason is in his mid-30s. He works at a local farm supply store, and he's super bitter about the whole situation. Also, the Old South is crumbling. It's really bad for him. And he's also been embezzling the money that Caddy sends to pay for Miss Quentin, her daughter's upbringing. He's stolen about 50 grand so far, and he uses it to gamble in the cotton market and also pay for a prostitute.
So he's a Redditor.
Well, this is back when Bitcoin meant you were checking to see if it was fake. So it's a whole very different scenario.
Also, Jason is physically abusive with Miss Quentin, who is now 17 years old. And we're finally getting his side of the story because that's important. In particular, Jason hates Benji and wants to send Benji to a mental hospital to get him out of the house. We also talked about the castration thing he wants to do. That happened. We see Jason at work here, where he's actually doing this. He's yelling ethnic slurs at a black coworker, but he gets distracted when Miss Quentin walks by outside with Red Tie Guy. So Jason runs after them, but he gets stopped by a kid with a telegram, which, I don't know, just like adorable little moment for a second, this kid with a telegram. He gets stopped by the kid with the telegram. The kid tells Jason that his cotton market speculation account is way down. So, you know, real hard day for Jason. I have a lot of empathy or whatever you're supposed to have in books for characters.
Just pacing back and forth. Stupid. Should have put it all in GameStop. Stupid, stupid, stupid.
Yeah, this book was published in 1929, so might be worth getting used to some disappointment in the markets. Just
Right? That's an excellent point. It's so... He never caught up with Miss Quentin to yell at her. His embezzled cotton trading account is down, and he never got to use all the new slur words with his black coworker that he'd come up with. So Jason starts driving home in a snit because, you know, Old South versus modernity, again, really hard for him. And while he's driving, he almost gets hit by another car. And the driver, he notices, was wearing a red tie.
Oh.
What?
Yup.
What?
So he chases the car and eventually finds it parked by the side of the road. He gets out, hoping to find Miss Quentin and guy with red tie, and then he hears him drive away from behind him. And it turns out they slashed his tires too, so he can't really quickly run after.
Still less confusing than Tenet, for the record. It is less confusing.
okay, all right, I'll give it a shot. You see, the man with the red tie symbolizes the blood and violence of the modern world, and the fact that they were unseen yet capable of the violence of slashing his tires represents the potential for that violence to literally stop the Old South in its tracks. And that the car drove away without Jason being able to confront it really demonstrates the inevitable forward surge of the modern world's violence upon the Old South.
Oh.
Oh, and also they will give a lit degree to literally anyone whose checks don't bounce. I mean, that's also...
Okay, but that was a really good explanation, actually.
Oh, you should explain how stupid a well-respected economic theory is for your next essay, Tom. That'd be fun.
Well, there's plenty of well-respected economic theories that are super dumb that you could throw in there.
I'm doing
Absolutely.
capitalism for my next one.
There you go.
See how you feel about it, Heath.
So now we're back at the Compson house for family dinner with Jason, Mrs. Compson, and Miss Quentin. And Jason spends the whole time making passive-aggressive, vague mentions about the car chase he had, which is kind of funny. And we also get Luster, the kid who's taking care of Benji, asking Jason for 25 cents to buy tickets for a show in town that he wants to see. So Jason just happens to have 2 tickets to that. So he takes them out.
Oh, that's nice.
He doesn't want the tickets. He takes them out. And then he burns them in the fireplace for fucking spite while making Luster watch that whole thing happen. End of chapter.
Wow.
And that was important from a literary standpoint because something with time and order and chaos and the lens of some guy we all fucking hate. I don't know. Something like that.
What I love about this is because Heath read the Spark Notes, he knows the themes, but he doesn't care, so he just yells them at us at the end of each paragraph. like you just heard he got denied tenure in it's Lit 101 class.
Yeah, that's accurate. And that brings us the final chapter, narrated by Faulkner himself. It's Easter Sunday of 1928, 2 days after Jason's chapter and 1 day after Benji's chapter. And of course, Easter is all about resurrection. So, symbolism, books, yeah.
Stupid literature.
Stupid literature. Thank you, Noah. So, chapter starts with Jason finding out that Miss Quentin snuck out her window to run away with Red Tie Guy. And she stole all the cash from Jason's lockbox before she left. So, it's actually her money from her mom, but that's what she did. So, Jason jumps in his car and heads to the nearby town where a traveling minstrel show is going to perform. Jason is pretty sure Red Tie Guy works for the show. So he shows up and he starts yelling at an old man, demanding to know where Red Tie Guy went. And this eventually escalates to Jason physically assaulting an old man. And then we get literally the only fun moment in the book when the old man, he gets physically assaulted by Jason. And then he finds an axe and comes after Jason with an axe.
Ooh.
So super fun. But alas, old man never gets to axe murder Jason.
Yeah, but the genius of Faulkner here is that he turns the entire narrative on its head. Jason is normally the one to murder people with an axe, and he's going to get murdered. It's crazy.
Right. Cecil, and that's fitting because this is also part 4, the final chapter.
Right? Exactly.
That's excellent.
I looked that up to make sure that would work.
Yeah. Pretty good.
Well done.
Take a second to appreciate what Tom just did there. I love that. Okay. Now it's time for the big denouement. Get excited.
Sorry to interrupt. I just feel like you have to choose between shitting on Faulkner and knowing what denouement means. But that's just me. That's just me.
No, you don't. Absolutely. False dichotomy. No, you don't. You don't have to do that. So Jason comes back home. He's all angry about not being able to murder Red Tie Guy and abuse his niece, Miss Quentin, anymore. And he sees Luster riding Benji around town in a carriage. But Luster took a slightly different path than normal, and Benji's upset. So Jason punches Luster here, and also Benji. And that's the end of the book. That's the end of the book. A failing white aristocrat in Mississippi. He's abusive. He physically assaults a black child and a mentally disabled person. The end. That's the end of the book.
Okay, but what you're missing is it's in that final assault, though, that the true impotence of Jason, the Old South, is really revealed. Even though Jason is able to commit the assault, his targets are largely helpless and not actually the true subject of his own frustration. In choosing those targets, it is apparent that he is ultimately unable to effect the change he desires. All of his fury is, in the end, nothing more than the posturing of the past, a futile bellowing into the void, even as the juggernaut of time leaves him behind. Which is, I guess, a fine sentiment, but no one wants to work this hard to get there, William.
That's another really good explanation.
Well, so yeah, here's the fucked up thing. The symbolism is actually so good that even through the filter of Heath's spite description, I'm floored by how perfect that ending is.
Okay, but perfect. All right, top of my head, better ending.
Yes. Why don't you rewrite
Vampire Strikes Back? Here we go. Dilsey gets a chapter. Dilsey and Luster get a chapter, and it's just like, fuck all your faces. Fuck your faces. Moral decay of the white South. Get out of here. Deal with it. And
You're right. Get out of here. Deal with it is so much better than whatever.
So much better. All right. So just for the record, that book that we just talked about played a big part in getting William Faulkner the Nobel Prize in Literature. I don't understand this. Why did he get a
Heath,
Nobel?
you're supposed to summarize what you learned at the end. At the very end, someone will ask you.
All right. I think that's what we'll get there. But before we wrap it up, in the interest of fairness, I do want to present a few more elements of praise from the literary community that we haven't mentioned yet and see what you guys think. I'll start with the use of shadows. Faulkner talks about shadows a lot in the book and their effect on Benji and Quentin. And apparently that's a brilliant way to invoke the concept of the inevitable passage of time. So, is that helpful? Better now?
So, I'm sorry, are you asking us to weigh in on shadows like as a metaphorical concept?
Yes.
How does
Exactly.
one-
It's impossible. It's done. Okay. What about the amazing metaphor to Jesus and Satan? There's a Jesus and Satan metaphor here. Faulkner fans are pretty sure that Faulkner wanted us to see Benji as a Christ figure and Jason as a Satan figure. So, is the book good now? Better?
I don't think it's realistic enough. If a real satanic character would have to be an atheist professor at a university.
Right? Right? And a real Jesus character would have spit in somebody's eye and murdered a passel of Pharaoh.
Right?
Hogs.
Yeah, exactly. Doesn't
Benji's
fit.
not dead. He's surely alive.
All right. So, okay, here's another one. What about the stream of consciousness technique? Faulkner often gets credit for making a big, important development in stream of consciousness writing, especially during the Benji chapter. And the fact that it's a pain in the ass to read, it's actually a good thing. It's interesting stream of consciousness.
To my face.
We're supposed to enjoy unlocking the puzzle of the jumbled time by somehow sensing when Luster is there. The Luster character is our tip-off. And when we sense him, that's how we know we're in the present. So this oppressed minority character is basically the top from Inception as a literary device in this book. So now do you like the book? Is stream of consciousness a good thing in general, I guess is my other question?
I mean, I have to admit, I'm rather fond of my own. I do like
Right.
my...
You do?
Sitting down to read this chapter is like going to a nice restaurant and having the waiter deliver all the ingredients to the table one at a time. It's crazy.
So you do want to go to Alinea, Cecil. You're
No.
saying you do. You will go. Okay.
No.
Confusing.
But
then.
like out of order and like
Yeah,
squeezes
exactly.
a lime in your eye instead of the key lime pie. And oh, that's first because I would have got that last. It's fine. Just do it out of order. Great. Yeah, stream of consciousness food. That's fun. What about the Caddy character? I've got a question about her. So we get a chapter for each brother, but Caddy can go fuck herself. This
Well, and anyone
seemed
else, according to Jason.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, right. And this seemed like an aggressive way to definitely fail the Bechdel test. I know it didn't exist yet, but just a brutal failure of that test. And the book, it was going to fail that either way. But according to the nerds, the omission of Caddy as a narrator was actually some kind of genius, counterintuitive feminism, something books. Was it? Was that what you got from that?
yes.
Maybe?
Really? No, wrong. 3 points for Heath. Exactly. Okay. You know what? Fair. And just one last thing. James Franco liked this book, and I'm assured that he is definitely a smart person who knows how to read books. Franco directed a film adaptation in 2014, and the cast included Seth Rogen, Danny McBride, and James Franco himself as
Really?
Benji. It was unwatchable. So does that help? James Franco likes it.
I'm
right?
starting to feel like a hostage negotiator, and the only good answer is to stall with more pizza. I feel like that's
that is the vibe. That is the vibe.
All right, so I'll get us out of this one. If you had to summarize what you've learned in one sentence, Heath, what would it
The
be?
book nerds are all liars. Nobody likes this book. You're lying. You're trying to pretend you're smart by saying you like this book. Because smart people are supposed to like it. It's a
James-
lie.
brilliant.
James Franco liked it. Are you ready for the quiz?
I'm ready for the quiz.
All right, Heath, your last two essays have been long-winded, negative rants about books you didn't read.
Okay, I read Libertarian Walks in a Bear. I read Atlas Shrugged. I actually did read almost all of it. I listened to almost all of this. I really did.
Why? A, because nobody on the internet is doing that. B, if we fire you, you technically didn't quit the show. C, because of the awesome experience you've had disagreeing with our audience about the things they like.
Yeah.
Or D,
C is strong.
because I'm not your real dad.
Man.
C was really strong, but it's definitely D.
It's
D
true.
took it
It's
at
true.
the
I
end.
am not your real dad.
No,
It's
you
a-
are not his real dad. That's right.
All right, Heath. The Sound of the Fury was, admittedly, far beyond my scope to understand and appreciate. Why?
Same.
A, because William Faulkner was a bad Nobel Prize winning author.
Ooh, great answer. So far, A.
It's strong.
Because
strong.
everything in literature should be immediately and effortlessly accessible to anyone, unlike literally all other complex things worth
Okay.
studying.
Brutal.
See what you're doing.
Brutal.
See what you're doing.
Or C,
Brutal.
whatever answer means it's not my fault.
Okay, well, it's A. A is definitely correct. I don't know about B or C in terms of their truth value. I don't want to evaluate the truth value of those. but A is true.
It's
He's a bad-
clearly C. I'm sorry. It's not my fault. That's
pretty
not
sure I'm
on
supposed
me.
to get this one right.
We've decided apparently that
I
doesn't
don't know.
matter.
I don't really know how
Noah's
this game
normally
works.
furious when this pattern goes out of order.
Yeah,
Today
right,
he's fine
but
with it.
But you
All
know,
right.
so we can buck that pattern anytime.
Pattern doesn't
we want,
matter at
apparently.
all.
So,
But all right.
all right. So I want to be clear on this question because I feel like we're going to get some tweets if we don't address it in advance. Compared to William Faulkner's The Sound and the Fury, the best thing that you, Heath, have ever personally written was A, better, or B, worse.
So much better. Hey, it's so much better. Are you kidding me? The Sound of the it's
Thank you for
horrible.
getting rid of all of those tweets
I've
in advance for
written
us.
middle school love poems that are less cringy than this book.
One more question for you, Heath. In 5 years, like James Franco, you will do a film mashup of this book and Good Will Hunting. And you're going to be the star. What's going to be the most iconic scene? A, Heath beats up a Harvard kid twice in the same scene. B, Heath disproves the ontological proof of God on a mirror with a Sharpie in his terrifying serial kill apartment with no furniture. C, Heath has to break up with his girlfriend because he never calls her. Or D,
Okay.
Heath leaves one morning without a trace, his car packed with brother-sister incest porn.
I don't like how all my stuff, all the stuff that I get is shitty. Apparently, I'm tall, STDs, sister incest porn, and I am a shitty
I didn't
boyfriend.
know about the STD thing. Thanks for
Oh,
that.
it's
right,
my
right
thing.
down
Hey,
to
you
that.
beat up a
That's
Harvard
crazy.
kid in this. I think that's a positive.
I like.
I tried to make
you know what?
you-
I beat the shit out of 2 Harvard kids, or one? Was it just one?
No, just the
One
one,
Harvard kid
twice.
twice.
It's one, but twice. You beat him up twice.
I do it twice. Okay, yeah. I like that one. I'm going that
Okay.
one.
Sorry, it is B. You live in a terrifying serial killer apartment with no furniture. So,
Yeah.
all right, so-
That,
True
that
story.
is correct.
I have. It's not
All right,
my
so-
furniture, but I have
That
furniture.
way better.
I think I saved it.
All right. Well, clearly, with that terrifying insight into Heath's life, Cecil is our winner.
okay, well, Noah, you get to write an essay next week.
All right. Well, for Tom, Cecil, Eli, and Heath, I'm Noah. Thanking you for hanging out with us today. We'll be back next week, and by then, I'll be an expert on something else. Between now and then, you can hear more from us by listening to this episode backwards or by checking out Cognitive Dissonance, The Scathing Atheist, God Awful Movies, and The Skeptocrat, and D&D Minus. And if you'd like to help keep this show going, you can make a per-episode donation at patreon.com/citationpod or leave us a 5-star review everywhere you can. And if you want to get in touch with us, check out past episodes, connect with us on social media, or check the show notes. Be sure to check out citationpod.com.
Good evening, everyone. We just want to thank you all for coming to
Fuck you. Fuck you.
the Heath Enright.
This is dumb. This is dumb.
to the
Books
Heath-
are dumb. Books are dumb. This is dumb.
You know what? Never mind.
Everybody give me $11.
This message comes from Greenlight. Ready to start talking to your kids about financial literacy? Meet Greenlight, the debit card and money app that teaches kids and teens how to earn, save, spend wisely, and invest with your guardrails in place. With Greenlight, you can send money to kids quickly, set up chores, automate allowance, and keep an eye on your kids' spending with real-time notifications. Join millions of parents and kids building healthy financial habits together on Greenlight. Get started risk-free at greenlight.com/get started. That's GREENLIGHT.com/get started.